my husband's female colleague. Here's the full story with an update. I do not know your Reddit name, but you finally gave me a reason to use this throwaway. I know you looked through this sub after you got advice here, telling you to come clean to me about your affair with my husband. I personally couldn't find a thread that fit the description, but could be the wrong sub or you deleted it. So if you read this and it sounds familiar, then yes, it's about you. I have no plans of speaking to you in the future, but I want to make a few things clear. Yes, I do remember when we first met at the Christmas party, and you kept trying to get my husband alone to talk. You pouted so much when he refused, I thought you would quack. Do you remember how all of his colleagues were friendly with me? I remember when you approached my husband and I walking home from my birthday dinner. I'm pretty sure this was a coincidence, but seeing my husband practically jump away from you trying to hug him was the highlight of my night. I know my husband is hot. Of course I know, I married him and had kids with him. But I bet you didn't know because you have only been at the company for a few months that your coworkers used to be my coworkers. I know all about you trying to get him alone after meetings, not only straight from my husband, because you make him feel uncomfortable, but also from them. Did you think he wouldn't talk to me after you accidentally sent him 2 provocative photos on 2 separate occasions? Did you think you could really get him? Did you look at his Instagram and think, wow, I want that life, I just need to lie to his wife and it's all mine? Do you think knocking on my door when I'm hosting a dinner party to hand me printouts of your conversations with him, that I would go off on the deep end and divorce him? I'm pretty sure HR have spoken to you already about your inappropriate behavior and misuse of his personnel file. I'm sure you are shocked maybe you didn't think my husband would report it. I don't know what repercussions you will get, and I don't care if you come near me, my husband, our kids, or our nice home again. Police will be called. A word of advice: if you're going to fabricate messages, you might want to get rid of the wrong number or at least replace it with a name. I hope this isn't in Austin, Texas, because it sounds like a woman I had to deal with. I had to stand up and open my office when she wanted to talk to me in my office. She stalked me as much as she could on my Facebook through coworkers that had me added. It was quite annoying. I had refused to go out during the weekends because I lived in San Antonio, and it was even more annoying when she tried to invite me out during the work week with coworkers, when I completely said I'm not interested and don't have time to extracurricular. She had a coworker that she was hooking up with to also claim I was sensually harassing her at work. It turned out HR saw all the unsolicited texts and had her fired. I was told to avoid situations like that in the future. You can't defend against it except by avoiding being alone with anyone. Talk about scary. I had a coworker who did something similar about 20 years ago. She was obsessed with a married coworker who was nice and had trained her. His wife worked in the same place, but a different department. This woman would openly talk about wanting to F him and not caring about his marriage. She stalked and harassed his wife and confronted her at a group event. She attacked his wife, who promptly kicked her back and had her arrested. People are nuts. I can't even begin to imagine how uncomfortable your husband must feel, especially during the walking home bit when she tried to hug him. Honestly, I applaud you for keeping your cool during this and thinking logically. There have been too many posts here where the spouse is accused of cheating by the person wanting to break them up. The partner just believes the accuser without talking to their spouse first to get their side. It then later comes out it was all a lie, but everything is ruined, and the accused refuses to get back together with their former partner. Bravo to you. Karma will come for that woman. Update. A few people implied that there was no smoke without fire. Usually I would agree and have been on the other side making these comments myself on my actual account. But my husband is also on Reddit and saw the comments, and he wanted me to add some prior events. My husband is high up within the company marketing department that works closely with the event team in their field. When they work together on a project, big or small, they have to have meetings. The bigger the project, the more meetings needed. My husband worked very closely with the colleague that went on maternity leave. The woman was highly recommended by a senior employee in the events team. So after she had training on the systems and brought up to speed by her department head, and my husband for a big project, he was friendly towards her. He remained professional at all times, and the meetings they had were also never alone. The project was a success, and then another big project landed in their laps. It was at this time the woman started acting strange just before the Christmas period, asking for clarification after meetings when the points had been discussed thoroughly. When my husband rebuffed this and directed her to her own manager, it escalated to offering to discuss work matters over coffee, lunch, dinner, countless times a week, telling him that he looked good that day. This was done using her work email. She met me at the Christmas party and sulked when she couldn't get him alone, and a few days later sent my husband the first picture via social media. He didn't actually see the first picture until after she apologized in person. He accepted her apology before checking his messages when he was back at home with me. She had put a "oops sorry wrong person" message straight after it, so when he clicked that message the first picture was there, which she could have deleted before he actually saw the message. A week later a similar thing happens with a second picture on a different social media platform. He saw who the message was from and asked me to open it. It was a little more provocative than before. But when she apologized, she asks him if he told me about the pictures, as she didn't want me to get the wrong idea, as they were both obviously a drunken mistake. She was not a friend on any of his social media, so I don't know how she thought that was an excuse. My birthday comes along, and when she went to hug my husband, he jumped away as her actions were getting him worried. But after that her actions calmed down a little bit. She sort of stopped asking him out to discuss work so much. But then last Monday happened. She was fired for sensual harassment and gross misconduct, and this has led to someone else being suspended pending investigation. As my husband and I were both working from home due to the events that happened last week, I was unaware at the time of my post that she had been suspended pretty much straight after my husband reported this to HR on the Wednesday. He handed over the text exchange, the messages on his social media with proof he never responded, and he printed out the work emails he had received also. The reason for the rapid response was due to the nature of the allegations, but I can confirm she was fired yesterday. I have not been told what she said, but she did not try to raise any allegation against my husband. The company uses an electronic personnel database which only HR employees can log into. No other employees should have access to this system, yet an employee in the IT department gave the woman unauthorized access to the HR system. A report was ran and she had been in my husband's file 34 times. I don't know what she actually did in there, but apparently there was so many amendments that they had to restore his file from a recent backup. So the IT employee has been suspended pending an investigation, but I don't know much else about that as it's not my job to know. I'm only recounting what I have been told by my husband and former colleagues. The past 48 hours has been crazy, but I am glad that this post reached other platforms, as a relative of hers found the post and reached out to us to apologize for the woman's actions. After a few messages were exchanged, we had a very long telephone conversation. I will not go into specifics due to their privacy. However, I can say the following things with permission. The woman has been fixated on other men before, resulting in her having an order of protection against her and her needing treatment. The family believes this is due to a traumatic event she witnessed when she was a child. She is normally very stable when she has medication. The only problem with that is when she is stable, she believes she is completely healthy and stops taking the medication, causing a relapse. The person that she had the text exchange with was her teenage niece, who was not aware of her aunt's condition. The niece was under the impression it was a joke, then became scared when we called Wednesday morning, so she hung up. She reported this to her family, and they found out later that day the woman had been suspended. The family found the post and my comment referencing the text exchange, and got my husband's name from the woman after confirming the post was her. The woman is currently staying with other relatives about 4 hours away from where we are. We will be contacted if she goes missing from their care, especially while the medication is working its way back into her system. We will not be pressing charges at present, but we have logged this with the police, especially after talking about it with our friend. And her family are aware of this. Our security is being updated within the next 2 weeks. The school and daycare are also aware of the people who can and can't drop off, pick up my kids with photos of them. They have also been provided a photo of her and to contact my husband and or I if they see her near the schools or attempts to pick my children up. Hopefully I won't need to provide a further update to this, and I'm going to have a bottle of wine, and hopefully my husband and I will have a very good night's sleep. I'm glad there's been a swift resolution to this situation. She sounds absolutely unhinged, and I'm glad to read you guys are staying vigilant in case she tries to escalate her obsession. It's also insane someone in IT gave her unfettered access to your husband's personnel files. When this woman's sanity is restored, I hope she's able to rebuild her life. If she has bipolar disorder, this could send her spiraling downward to severe depression. I hope she finds a really good psychiatrist, and that this incident inspires her to stay on her meds. Glad your husband told you every time she contacted him. I wish you could press charges against her for stalking, which is essentially what she did. I'm glad you and your family are safe from her, hopefully for the foreseeable future. Stay safe. You and your husband deserve all the happiness for just having each other's backs. I'm an undertaker, and I picked up my first suicide tonight. The hardest part was what the husband said to me. Here's the full story. I, 19 female, just recently entered my dream career of being an undertaker. I absolutely love my job, and I've picked up many dead bodies before this one. Most of those being nursing homes and hospital deaths. But tonight I got my first call for a suicide. I won't go into detail about how she did it, but she was a 73-year-old lady. We were told to proceed this case with caution because the husband was absolutely distraught, as expected, since he found her. My partner and I arrive at the house, and the police brief us on what they know. We walk in, and the husband is sitting on a desk, looking okay. There was an obvious sadness in his voice, and he had been crying, but he greeted us with a smile and asked us how we were. I honestly had mad respect for how he was keeping it together. He asked us if he could show us where she was, and said he just wanted to take one last look at her. We don't judge someone's grief process. If he wanted to see the mess again, we would let him do whatever he wanted. This was his goodbye. We walked into the bedroom and she was on the floor. He just smiled sadly at her and said, "Hi, sweetheart," and then left us to do our thing. We got her in the bag and on the gurney, fill out all the paperwork with the police, and then it was time to leave. We rolled her through the house and stopped when we saw the husband. This was the part that got me in all of this. He looked at me, not my partner, an older man who obviously has been doing this for a long time, but at me, the 19-year-old who was rolling his dead wife out of their shared home. He smiled at me sadly and just said, "So this is when you take her away." My heart broke for him. I felt so bad for taking this man's wife away from him. "I'll take good care of her, I promise," I reassured him. It was the only thing I could think of to say. He gave me a smile of relief, and that was that. Anyways, we finished the job as usual, but that comment really stuck with me. I don't usually need to get these things off my chest. I'm completely fine with blood, gore, and death. None of that has ever fazed me. And it didn't faze me with this job either. It was this man's heartbreak that got to me. The way he was obviously devastated but put on such a brave face. It was like he was wearing a glass mask. I could see everything behind it so obviously. But he was doing such a good job of keeping it together. I was proud of him, and I'm so sorry to him for his loss, truly. That was the perfect response in a moment of need. In this field, compassion, care, and understanding are the most important skills you'll develop. Too many people become apathetic or indifferent over time. Always get things like this off your chest when you need to. Burnout can be a very real and toxic thing. If you ever find yourself starting to go numb, then find someone to talk to and maybe pause for a bit. The work you do is important. Thank you for doing it. I cannot imagine a better thing for you to say. Good luck in your career. It's going to be tough, but you're there for people in some of the worst times of their life. 3 years after my friend passed away and it's thundering with rain outside, I think of my pal that is buried in a grave and immediately think, it's really raining out there. I hope she's warm and okay. I don't think the mind ever truly accepts the sheer enormity of death and non-existence. They remain with us always. That reassurance of knowing she's going to be looked after as if she is still alive is everything. Well done, OP. OP, you are perfectly suited for this career, and you sound wise far beyond your years. What you say or do at your job sounds like the exact perfect thing to do at that time. This is difficult work that not many can handle, and it is such important work. I guarantee your compassion and care will make a big difference for the families going through some of the worst moments of their lives. Thank you so much.